From the moment the ship's horn bellowed across the azure expanse of the ocean, the air was thick with promise and deceit. Little did Mark know, this cruise would end not with the love he sought to rekindle, but with a betrayal that would echo through the corridors of his heart. The sun was setting, painting the sky with strokes of orange and pink, as the cruise ship, the harmony of waves, drifted away from the dock. Mark stood at the railing, his eyes reflecting the beauty of the sea, but his mind was on the surprise he had planned for his wife, Laura. The deck was bustling with laughter and the clink of champagne glasses, the atmosphere one of joy and anticipation. Yet beneath this veneer of celebration, there was a tension only Mark would come to understand. He had spent months planning this anniversary getaway, aiming to reignite the spark in their marriage, which had been dulled by long hours at work and the silent distance growing between them. Mark envisioned this cruise as a new beginning, a chance to reconnect in the vast, unending sea where their problems seemed small and solvable. The ship was a floating city of luxury. Every corner was designed to charm and dazzle. The scent of salt and sea mixed with the fragrance of exotic flowers placed decoratively around the deck. As the night deepened, the stars began to compete with the ship's lights, creating an enchanting dance of light on the water. Mark felt the excitement building within him as he waited for the perfect moment to surprise Laura. He had reserved a special dinner at the ship's most exclusive restaurant, where the view from the floor to ceiling windows was of nothing but ocean and sky, a mirror to the endless possibilities he hoped this trip would bring. The thought of Laura's smile when she discovered the surprise dinner made his heart race with joy. Laura arrived, her beauty catching the soft glow of the ship's lights, her eyes scanning the crowd until they met Mark's. He saw a flicker of something in her gaze. Was it happiness or was it the shadow of guilt? Mark dismissed it as nerves, his excitement overshadowing any doubt. "Happy anniversary, love," Mark said, taking her hand to lead her to their special evening. Laura's smile was genuine, but seemed to carry a weight, a secret she kept beneath her joy. As they walked through the ship, Mark pointed out the various amenities, the promise of adventure in every turn, unaware that the real adventure would be one of heartbreak. The music from the live band, the gentle sway of the ship, all contributed to an atmosphere of romance and mystery. Yet as they sat down to dinner, the shadows of the coming days loomed large, unseen by Mark but felt by Laura, whose laughter was a little too loud, her touch a little too fleeting. The night ended with a toast to their love, under the vast, starlit sky. Little did Mark know, this was merely the calm before the storm of revelations that would soon engulf their lives. The sea whispered secrets that Mark was deaf to, as the ship sailed deeper into waters where trust would be tested and truth would surface. The morning after their anniversary dinner, Mark awoke to the gentle rocking of the ship, feeling a renewed hope in his chest. The sun streamed through the cabin windows, casting a warm glow on Laura, who was already up, her face a mask of contemplation as she gazed out at the open sea. There was beauty in her silence, but to Mark it seemed more like avoidance. The day was planned with activities, but Mark's enthusiasm was tinged with an unacknowledged unease. Laura suggested inviting Tom, Mark's best friend, to join them for part of the cruise. She argued it would be fun, a reunion of sorts, since Tom had been away for work. Mark, wanting to please Laura, agreed, not realizing the undercurrents this decision would stir. Tom arrived with the cheerfulness of someone who had no worries, his laughter filling the cabin that had been too quiet for Mark's liking. The ship's atmosphere was lively, with deck games, pools, and laughter echoing around. But Mark found himself observing his wife and friend, more than enjoying the festivities. There was something in the way Laura's eyes lit up when Tom spoke, a familiarity that seemed to exceed friendship. As the day progressed, Mark noticed Laura and Tom often pairing off for activities, claiming it was to give Mark some time to relax. But relaxation was the last thing he felt. Instead, a slow burn of suspicion began to kindle in his gut. He watched them from afar during a shuffleboard game, their laughter carrying over the sound of the waves. Laura's touch on Tom's arm was too intimate, her smile too bright. Dinner was a test of Mark's patience. The three of them sat at a table where the food was exquisite, yet Mark's appetite was for answers. Conversations flowed easily between Laura and Tom, with inside jokes and stories that seemed to exclude him. Mark's laughter was forced, his smile tight. He tried to join in, but every attempt felt like he was intruding on something private, something already established without him. Later, as they walked the deck under the starlit night, Mark felt like a third wheel. Laura and Tom's closeness was palpable, their steps in sync, their heads leaning close as if sharing secrets. Mark's heart ached with each step. His mind raced with questions. Was he just being paranoid, or was there a truth he was afraid to confront? Back in their cabin, Laura was quick to sleep, her breathing even, peaceful, while Mark lay awake. His mind replayed the day's events, each moment with Laura and Tom under scrutiny. The ship's gentle sway seemed to mock his turmoil, as if it knew the storm brewing in his heart was far greater than any weather they might face at sea. His trust, once as vast and deep as the ocean they sailed, now felt like it was shrinking, revealing hidden depths of doubt and betrayal. Mark knew he needed to look closer, to listen more intently to the whispers of the sea, which tonight seemed to murmur of secrets and lies. The ocean held its secrets, but Mark was beginning to see the outlines of truths beneath its surface, truths he had never wanted to acknowledge. The third day of the cruise dawned with a deceptive calm, the sea a mirror reflecting a sky free of clouds. Mark woke with a resolve to enjoy the day, pushing away the shadows of doubt that had begun to seep into his thoughts. However, each moment with Laura and Tom felt like a test of his endurance. They decided to explore the ship's amenities, with Laura suggesting a private tour of the less crowded areas. Mark agreed, hoping for some intimacy with his wife, but instead found himself trailing behind as Laura and Tom led the way, their laughter and shared glances creating a barrier he felt increasingly unable to breach. The ship was like a maze, and Mark felt lost in more ways than one. They entered a secluded lounge where the music was soft, the atmosphere intimate. Laura and Tom sat close, discussing their adventures with a familiarity that stung Mark like salt in a wound. He tried to join in, but his words felt hollow, his presence an afterthought. Lunch was a further descent into Mark's growing unease. They chose a secluded spot on the deck where the sea breeze was cool, but the air between them was thick with tension. Laura's hand brushed Tom's more than once, each touch sending a jolt of betrayal through Mark. He watched as they shared smiles, their eyes locked in moments that seemed to exclude him, making him feel like an outsider in his own life. After lunch, they split up. Laura wanted to sunbathe. Tom suggested a swim, and Mark, feeling the need for clarity, claimed he wanted to read. Alone, he tried to dive into his book but found the words blurring into accusations. The ship's vastness felt like a prison, each corner potentially hiding more of what he feared to find. By evening, the ship hosted a masquerade ball, an event designed for romance and mystery. Mark saw it as an opportunity to reconnect, choosing masks that symbolized hope and love. However, the night unfolded with Laura choosing to dance with Tom first, their movements too in sync, too knowing. Mark danced with her afterward, but her body was not as close, her laughter not as free. As the night deepened, Mark noticed Laura and Tom slipping away under the guise of needing fresh air. He followed at a distance, the ship's corridors echoing with the distant sound of music, every step feeling like he was walking into a trap he had set for himself. He found them on a secluded deck, their silhouettes against the night sky, too close, too intimate. The pain was sharp, a betrayal that felt like a physical blow. Mark didn't confront them. Instead, he retreated, his heart racing with the need to understand, to not jump to conclusions. But the seed of doubt had grown into a tree, its roots deep in his trust, threatening to tear it apart. Back in their cabin, Mark lay beside Laura, listening to her even breaths, feeling as if he was sharing the bed with a stranger. The sea outside was calm, but inside Mark, a storm was brewing, one that would soon demand answers or shatter what was left of his world. The ship was a floating labyrinth of secrets, and Mark was now navigating through its darkest corridors, chasing whispers that might lead to his undoing. Mark couldn't sleep, the night's revelations haunting him. Morning brought no relief, only an increase in his resolve. He decided to confront Laura, but with subtlety, not wanting to show all his cards at once. Breakfast was tense. He watched Laura, her every movement, her every word, searching for signs of deceit. "You seemed to enjoy last night," Mark said, his voice casual, but his eyes sharp. Laura smiled, but it was tight. "It was fun, wasn't it? The masquerade was a great idea." "I noticed you and Tom seemed very in sync during the dance," Mark prodded, watching for her reaction. Laura's fork paused midair. "We've known each other for ages. It's just how we are." Her eyes didn't meet his, a telltale sign of discomfort. The day was spent in seemingly innocent activities, but Mark's mind was on anything but relaxation. He overheard snippets of conversations between Laura and Tom when they thought he was out of earshot. Words like "tonight" and "later" caught his attention, fueling his suspicions. During a quiet moment on the deck, Mark confronted her more directly. "Are you sure there's nothing going on with you and Tom?" Laura's eyes flickered with something, guilt or irritation. "Mark, what are you implying? Tom's your friend, my friend. There's nothing more." But her voice lacked conviction, and Mark felt the sting of betrayal. He decided to test her further. "I think we should spend some time, just the two of us. Maybe skip tonight's party?" Laura hesitated, her face betraying her. "I already told Tom we'd meet him there." The rest of the day was a blur of feigned normalcy, but Mark's heart was heavy with doubt. He watched them, noting every glance, every laugh shared between Laura and Tom. His emotions swung between anger, sadness, and a desperate hope that he was wrong. As night fell, Mark decided to follow them again, this time with a camera, the weight of it in his pocket a symbol of his resolve to uncover the truth. The ship was alive with music and laughter, but for Mark it was a stage set for betrayal. He needed more than suspicion. He needed proof. The plot was set, the stage ready for the big reveal, and Mark was no longer just a spectator in his own life. He was the detective, piecing together the fragments of his marriage, waiting for the moment when all would be laid bare. The night was a dark canvas, painted with the shadows of deceit, and Mark, with camera in hand, was about to capture the truth in stark relief. The evening's festivities were in full swing, the cruise ship alight with celebration, but Mark's heart was a battlefield. He watched from afar as Laura and Tom mingled, their laughter and ease with each other a stark contrast to the turmoil within him. He followed them discreetly as they excused themselves from the crowd, heading towards a quieter part of the ship. Laura: "This place is magical at night, isn't it?" Tom: "Yeah, it's almost like we have our own little world here." Their words felt like knives to Mark, who hid behind a large potted plant, his camera ready. He captured the moment they stepped onto a secluded balcony, the moon providing enough light to reveal their intimacy. Mark, to himself, whispering, "Please, let this be innocent." But their closeness was anything but innocent. Tom's arm around Laura's waist, their faces inches apart, speaking in hushed tones that Mark strained to hear. Tom: "We should be careful. Mark's not stupid." Laura: "He's too caught up in his own world to notice anything. Besides, we're just friends, remember?" Mark's grip tightened on the camera, his heart pounding with a mix of rage and sorrow. He couldn't confront them yet. He needed undeniable proof. Back in the main party area, Mark decided to confront Laura with what he had seen, to see if she would lie to his face. Mark: "Laura, can we talk? Alone?" Laura, her smile faltering: "Sure, what's up?" Mark: "I saw you both just now, on the balcony." Laura's face paled, her eyes darting around, looking for an escape, or perhaps for Tom. Laura: "We were just talking, Mark. You're seeing things that aren't there." Mark: "I have photos, Laura, of you two, close." Laura, her voice rising slightly: "You're spying on me now? Is that what our marriage has come to?" Tom approached, sensing the tension, his expression a mask of concern. Tom: "Hey, everything okay here?" Mark, turning to Tom: "How long has this been going on, Tom? How could you?" Tom, trying to remain calm: "Mark, man, you've got it all wrong. We're just friends." Laura: "See, Mark, it's all in your head." The conversation was a dance of accusations and denials, each word a step closer to the precipice of their relationship. Mark's voice was shaky with emotion. Mark, I want the truth, Laura. Now, or I'll show everyone those pictures. Laura, feeling cornered, her facade cracking, tried to turn it around. Laura, you've been neglecting me, Mark. Maybe if you'd been around, I wouldn't need to find companionship elsewhere. Tom, seeing the situation escalating, attempted to mediate. Tom, let's all just calm down. There's no need for this to get ugly. But the damage was done. The trust was shattered. Mark felt a mix of vindication and devastation. He knew he had to wait, to gather more evidence, to confront them when he could reveal the full extent of their betrayal. The night was not over, and neither was Mark's quest for the truth. The ship was no longer a place of escape, but a stage for confrontation, where every secret was about to be dragged into the light. The tension was palpable the next morning. The air between Mark, Laura, and Tom was charged with unspoken accusations. Breakfast was a silent affair, each bite of food tasting like betrayal to Mark. He watched as Laura and Tom exchanged quick, guilty glances, their camaraderie now a weapon against him. Mark decided to play his next move with caution. He needed more than just a moment's indiscretion. He wanted to expose the depth of their deception. Mark, I think we should do something together today. The three of us. Strengthen our friendship. Laura's eyes widened, a flicker of panic crossing her features. Laura, sure, that sounds fun. What did you have in mind? Tom, yeah, let's keep it light, eh? Mark suggested a day excursion to a nearby island, where the isolation would either confirm or deny his suspicions. On the boat ride, the conversation was stilted, each word measured. Mark, it's nice, isn't it? Just the three of us, away from all distractions. Laura, nervously, yes, just like old times. Tom, exactly, like old times. But Mark's eyes were sharp, watching for any slip. When they arrived at the island, he suggested they split up for a bit, giving him a chance to set up his trap. He hid his camera in a spot he knew they'd pass, hoping to catch more than just friendly gestures. Returning to the meeting point, Mark saw what he feared. Laura and Tom, more intimate than friends should be, their laughter too close, their touch too lingering. He confronted them immediately. Mark, enough games. I have more photos now. What's really going on? Laura, defensive. You're making a big deal out of nothing, Mark. Tom, look, buddy, we didn't mean for it to happen. Mark felt a surge of anger and betrayal. Mark, you mean you didn't mean to get caught? Laura, you've been so distant, Mark. You pushed me away. Mark, so, this is my fault? You betray me, and I'm to blame? The argument escalated, their voices echoing over the quiet island. Mark felt the weight of his marriage crumbling, his heart hardening with every deceitful word. He knew the final confrontation was inevitable, but first he needed to ensure everyone knew the truth, setting the stage for a public revelation that would leave no room for doubt. The ship was now but a vessel of secrets and betrayal, sailing towards an inevitable storm of revelations. The return from the island was silent, the boat ride back to the cruise ship filled with the heavy weight of unspoken truths. Mark sat apart from Laura and Tom, his mind racing with plans for the final confrontation. He knew he needed more than just photos. He needed a public spectacle that would leave no room for doubt or denial. Back on the ship, the atmosphere was tense. The usual joy of the cruise seemed to mock Mark's inner turmoil. He noticed how Laura and Tom were more cautious now, their interactions less overt, but no less guilty. Mark decided to use the cruise's final day event, a grand gala dinner, as his stage for the revelation. Mark spent the afternoon in solitude, piecing together his evidence. He downloaded the photos from his camera, including those from the island, and prepared a slideshow. His plan was to expose them during the gala, where all their friends and acquaintances from the cruise would witness the betrayal. As evening approached, Mark dressed for the event, his suit feeling like armor for the battle ahead. He watched Laura prepare, her beauty now a mask he saw through clearly. She seemed nervous, perhaps sensing the storm brewing. Laura, you look nice. Are you feeling better? Mark, coldly. I'm feeling resolved. Tom joined them for the walk to the grand dining room, his usual easy smile now strained. Mark observed their interactions with a detached, analytical eye, noting every touch, every shared look. At the gala, the room was a spectacle of luxury, with everyone dressed in their finest. The mood was jovial, the clinking of glasses and laughter, a stark contrast to Mark's inner resolve. He waited for the right moment, during a speech by the cruise director, to connect his camera to the room's projector. Mark, whispering to Laura and Tom, enjoy the show. As the director finished, Mark stood, his voice cutting through the applause. Mark, excuse me, everyone. There's something you should all see. Something I've learned on this supposed vacation of love. With a press of a button, the first image appeared, Laura and Tom in an intimate embrace on the balcony. Gasps filled the room. Laura's face turned white. Tom's expression one of shock. Laura, panicking. Mark, what are you doing? Mark, revealing the truth. These aren't isolated moments. Here's more. The slideshow continued, each image more damning than the last, culminating with the photos from the island. Whispers turned to open conversation, some shocked, others disgusted. Mark felt a grim satisfaction. His pain was now public, but so was their deceit. Tom tried to speak, to explain, but Mark cut him off. Mark, save your lies for someone who might believe them. Laura was in tears, pleading, but Mark was beyond sympathy. He felt a sense of justice in this public shaming, a satisfaction in knowing that his humiliation was now shared, that their friends would never see them the same way. He left the room with his head high, leaving behind a scene of chaos, his plan for a satisfying end now in motion. The final chapter would be about closure, about reclaiming his dignity and moving forward, free from the weight of betrayal. The ship had sailed through storms of love and betrayal, but it was at this final port where Mark would find his peace amidst the ruins of what once was. The night after the gala was sleepless for many, but for Mark, it was a cathartic release. The next morning, the ship was docking, the end of the cruise mirroring the end of his marriage. The air was charged with a different kind of tension now, one of finality and resolution. Laura and Tom avoided Mark, their shame palpable, but he sought them out one last time, not for reconciliation, but for closure. Mark found them on the deck, watching the port approach, their faces reflecting the dread of returning to reality. Mark, I hope you both learned something from this. I certainly have. Laura, tearfully. Mark, please, can't we talk about this? I'm sorry, Mark, lost, lonely. Those are excuses, not reasons. I saw what I needed to see. We're done, Laura. Tom, Mark, I never meant for this to go this far. Mark cut him off, his voice firm but calm. Mark, save it, Tom. Our friendship ended when you betrayed my trust. I hope you both find what you're looking for, but not at the expense of my dignity. He handed them an envelope. Inside were copies of all the photos, the evidence of their affair. Mark, I'm giving you these because I'm done carrying your secrets. Do with them what you will, but know this, I'm free now. With that, he walked away, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. The ship's passengers, those who had witnessed the night's revelations, gave him looks of sympathy or respect, acknowledging his courage. As they disembarked, Mark felt a strange mix of sadness and liberation. The port was bustling, a new beginning for everyone, including him. He watched Laura and Tom leave together, their heads low, the whispers of others following them like shadows. Mark's friends from the cruise approached him, offering support. Friend 1, you did the right thing, Mark. That took guts. Friend 2, if you ever need to talk or just hang out, you know where to find us. Mark thanked them, his heart lighter with every step away from the ship. He decided to take some time for himself, to heal, to rediscover who he was without the weight of betrayal. In the solitude of a quiet cafe by the port, Mark reflected on the journey. He felt the sting of loss, but also the thrill of reclaiming his life. He wrote in his journal, "This cruise meant for love became my path to freedom. I lost a wife, a friend, but I've gained something invaluable, myself. I'll mourn what was, but I'll celebrate what can be. Mark left the cafe with a sense of purpose, his steps confident, his gaze forward. The betrayal was now a story in his past, one that had ended not with bitterness, but with a satisfying sense of justice and personal victory. He was ready to sail into new waters, to explore new horizons, his heart open, his spirit unburdened.